So I just picked up the sv650 second gen, and it is, well, it's a really good example of bikes not to buy. Well, I'm a different animal. I didn't buy it to ride it or do anything with it other than take it apart. But so 2005, not a ton of miles on it. Hold on, let it wake up. Only 4,800 miles on it. But so forget the crash damage for a second. Obviously, like the kid I bought it from, he bought it to ride, and then his buddy or whatever put it on its side. So forget the crash damage, but I want to talk about like the bike he bought, so pre-damaged. The tires on it, you can see the nice front that's beyond dry rotted. You can just see the cracks everywhere, beyond worn, but only on one side, oddly enough. Brakes are all crusty. The chain is completely crusty. It's like they put it in a swamp in 2005 and then never bothered to take it out. And then the thing is, read the tire date code 4104. This tire will be old enough to vote this year. So there's that. There's also obviously the Chinese lowers, probably the weird aftermarket mirrors, but then back to rideability stuff. This master cylinder reservoir, that orange, that's not the fluid, that's the reservoir. I'm afraid to open it because it's probably pitch black in there. But all sun bleached, dry rotted. The rear's not any worse. See that crust? Like, it's basically like dried plastic white. It's not painted, it's not anything. It's just like plastics that were out in the sun forever. I was wearing two different rear sets. As you can see, a factory rear set on one side and some ancient Chinese rear set technology on the other side. So if you think about this, the kid that bought it, it was never going to pass inspection. It was never going to do anything except hit the ground, mostly because of tires, but probably shortly followed by the brakes killing him, probably shortly followed by the chain snapping and taking his leg off, probably shortly followed by, well, you can see there's a lot of moisture on the forks, and that drips onto the rotors, calipers, and ruins braking. So despite not a lot of miles, this thing's had a rough life. And even if he bought it for, like, let's say $1,500, by the time he spend the money on, you know, getting tires, that's probably $300. Chain sprockets, probably $150. And that's just in parts. Rear sets, probably a couple of $100. You know, the like master cylinder reservoirs, brake reservoirs and stuff like that are cheap, but rotors are not cheap and not something you want to skimp on. So by the time he'd get it to a point where it was safe to ride, he'd probably be in for $1,000 of parts easily. And that's not even cosmetically, that's just, you know, would pass inspection, would not kill you on test ride. So just goes to show, there's probably, if you're buying a mechanic special or if you're buying a cheap bike, there's a reason it's cheap. You're probably buying something that's going to need some money invested into it. It's very, very rare that you actually get a good deal just because, like, some rich boy doesn't care anymore about the thing. Chances are, if you're spending $1,000 or $1,500 on a second gen, you're probably getting something like this, where, like, from 30 feet away, like from here, it doesn't look awful, but as soon as you start walking up and, like, looking at the details, you're gonna find places where you absolutely need to spend money before even going out on the road. And yeah, maybe it's better you save those bikes for me, because otherwise eventually everybody seems to, or around here, eventually everybody seems to run out of mechanical ability and just punt their projects to me so I can take them apart. Oh yeah, last thing, I forgot to do the most important quality test on the bike. There is no tank prop rod anywhere in here, unfortunately. I would have liked to have another tank prop rod, but yeah, no tank prop rod, do not buy.